Hi there. So today I just want to come on here and answer a bunch of questions. I'm getting really behind on all of the questions just because I've been pretty busy and we have a lot going on. So I just want to take some time to answer all of your questions, at least the ones that I can find. I pretty much just what I did is I filtered the comments to contains questions. So if you put a question mark behind it, then I can find it and I can try to answer it for you. But otherwise they kind of just get lost if I don't, keep up on it. You guys are so generous with your comments and questions, and so I apologize about that. I try as best as I can. And I wanted to go outside today and do this because it's much more fun to be outside. But it's 110 degrees outside here in Michigan. And it's literally like you could cut the humidity with a knife. I've never said that in my life, but it's even too hot for me. So I was like, you know what, we're just gonna stay inside for now. And of course, Nate, he decided to mow the lawn as soon as I wanted to go outside. I swear that always happens. But anyway, before we jump into the questions, I did just want to say to you guys, thank you so much for just being excited for me that 10,000, did I hear myself right? 10,000 people pushed on the subscribe button. It kind of is blowing my mind right now. If I can just be honest with you, that number 10,000 is amazing, but honestly, I'm still racking my brain over the 19th person, because when I just started this, I did it for fun and I had no intentions of it even going anywhere. Didn't think anyone would want to watch for sure. And there was about 18 people and they were all my family members giving me courtesy watches. Literally, that's what they told me. My brother, we just hung out with my brother the other day at a pool party and he said, "Geez, Jess, you're almost at 10,000 people watching you." He's like, "I guess you don't need my courtesy watch anymore." So anyway, I just want to thank you guys so much. Like I said, I still can't believe that 19 of you are here, or 20, or 100, or 500, let alone 10,000. It's unreal. So anyway, thank you guys so much for that. And I don't want to make light of the 10,000, but I also want you to know that every single one of the 9,999 of you mean just as much. So thank you guys. All right, let's jump into the questions. And like I said, I'm just gonna try to find as many of them as I can, but I'm gonna go back about a month. A month of me not answering questions. So okay, so the first one, Mahogany Blue 2571 is asking any date on the Butterburs. I'd love to see how they turned out. I feel like I've shown them, obviously, probably since you asked this question, but I'll just throw a little clip in here as well so you can see how they're doing. I just put some free wood chips on them, so they're looking really great. They are, as many of you made me aware, thank you, they are growing very vigorously already, so I am going to have to keep an eye on them, but I'm not worried about it at all. I have no issues ripping things out if it's getting too out of control. That doesn't bother me. And anyway, I planned on making a path through there at one point, so we'll for sure keep an eye on them, but they're looking really good. Here, maybe I'll move my screen so you can kind of see what I'm doing. I mean, you can't really read it, but at least you can see what I'm looking at. I had to move it a little bit because otherwise I couldn't read it. Okay, so the next question here this is on cleaning up the gully, trimming the boxwoods and trimming perennials. And Joe Pat Frichetta, sorry if that's not correct, asks, how do you decide whether or not to use mulch or stone? Honestly, just whatever I'm feeling at the time. The majority of my gardens, as you see, are mulch. But if there's a spot I find needs a little bit more brightening up, then I'll add like a little section of pea stone, or if there's a spot that I want to make a little path, I might add some stepping stones or something like that. So there's really no like real science behind why I choose different hardscapes. I kind of just look at it in the moment and think like, I feel like that needs a little brightening up, and that's where I add in a little bit of stone. So I hope that helps. Let's see. Terry Spees, I hope I'm saying that right. What kind of 2 trees are in this video? Pretty voice, do you have music that I can buy? Aw. I don't have music that you can buy yet, but I am working on it. I did just go down to Nashville and record some of my songs like this spring, and I'm scheduled to go down there again and do the vocals in November. So hopefully after that, maybe hopefully next year, I'll have something that you guys can buy if that's what you want. And then the kind of 2 trees that are in the video that you're referring to, those are called river birch trees. Let's see. Lori3479 asks, hi Jess, could you ask your brothers if they would build you a greenhouse? You could use recycled windows. Oh, wouldn't that be so cool? Put your potting table in there too. What do you think? I think that's a great idea. I would love for my brothers to build me a greenhouse, and actually I've thought of that too with recycled windows. Those are like my favorite greenhouses. Like I've seen people do, you know, like the regular plastic hoop houses. I've seen people go like extravagant and put in these like glass greenhouses that are thousands and thousands of dollars. Like those are all great, but I honestly, I kind of love like the old recycled window look. I think it's just so charming, and that's totally what I would do if I had my brothers build me a greenhouse. So yes, I think that's a great idea. I'm not sure I would need it at this point, just because my sister helps me grow plants, and then I also want to try to grow some this winter in my basement. But it's a great idea, Lori. If it ever came down to it, I could definitely hit my brothers up to do that for me. And I know some of you will probably ask, but this right here, look, isn't he cute? Nate got that for me for my birthday this year, and you're supposed to put it on the side of like a planter, and my birthday is like in the beginning of April, so I didn't have any planters at that time, so I just put it on top of my computer, and I've had it there ever since. It just really helps me get through my work day. But anyway, I figured you guys might ask what those 2 little paws were poking out of the top of the screen there. Rez Mint asks, have you ever pruned your globe blue spruce? I bought one last year and would love to prune it, but I don't know where to begin. I've never pruned my blue spruce. I have been thinking about it though, because obviously every year it gets bigger and bigger, and I have seen ones in other people's yards that are like really, really big. So I have been kind of preparing myself for if the time comes, I might have to prune it a little bit, but honestly, I have no clue. I would have to look into that because I've never done it before. I don't think I would do like a heavy prune on it, just like very, very sparse. Judy McKiro says, why use a rake when your hands work just fine? That wasn't an actual question. It was a rhetorical question, because I think I was pulling all the mulch away with my hands instead of using a rake. But you're right, Judy. Your hands are the greatest tools that God gave you. D Cuddy for real? Hope I'm saying that right. Where did you buy your dwarf blue spruce standard from? I got both of them, the one I've had for years and the one I just bought from Horrocks Farm Market in Grand Rapids, Michigan. So this question is from Camille. You guys, I'm butchering these names. Do you leave your hosta in your pots over winter? Yes, I do. So the ones that are in the pots right now will currently stay in there, and they will last all winter long. Do they survive? How cold does it get there? They do survive. We're zone 4 or 5, so it gets pretty cold here. We get like below 0 temperatures sometimes, so it does get very cold. What I do is I leave them kind of up close to my house so they have some sort of protection from some of the elements of the winter, but then they also are kind of out in the open so that they can get snowfall. That helps provide moisture throughout the winter season for them, and they do just fine as long as your pot has drainage in it. I have tried to overwinter a hosta in a pot that had no drainage, and it drowned. Had got too much moisture. Jackie Q, have you thought of getting Max an outdoor cat tunnel? He can come inside the garden with you, but he can't run away. He can see through it. It's really lightweight. You can get small ones that are easy to carry. You can put him on the deck or have him by you. Yeah, that's a great idea. I haven't thought of that. The thing with Max is he loves coming outside, but he's very like scared. So anytime he hears like, you know, a mower or a blower or something that like startles him, he wants to go back inside like that. So I don't like to like scare him, you know. I bring him out almost every day on the harness and we go for walks. Almost every day and every night we'll go for a walk around the garden. He loves that. But for some reason he just gets really skittish anytime he hears anything. So a tunnel might be cool. I've never even looked into one of those, so that's a great idea. I could Google that. User PB4 and then some other things asks, what type of pruners do you use? So those green and yellow pruners I got from my mother-in-law and father-in-law for Christmas a few years back, and they're called the MK4 ratchet pruners. She said she got them on Amazon, and I've tried to link you guys a link for those, and they're out of stock. They don't have them anymore. I love them. I wish they would come back in stock because I would love another extra pair. But those are the pruners I use, and I'm sure you can find something that's similar. Karen Vaughn asks, can you tell me what the yellow flower is in the pot at your front porch with the dark foliage? Yes, that is a Mystic Illusion Dahlia. It's a proven winter's plant. It's an annual. Beautiful plant. They also come in a pink color too, which I gotta find next year. Amanda Rodriguez asked, how do you keep your spruce trees healthy? I have had so many problems with needle cast and dieback. Any advice? So for one thing, Amanda, I think that, like, I could be wrong on this, but I feel like evergreens in general, their needles don't hang on indefinitely. I think it's just like a normal natural cycle for them to drop their needles every year or few years or whatever. I think that is a normal thing. They'll turn yellow, turn brown, and then they'll drop after several seasons. Mine do that. I noticed that more in my shag white pine tree. It does it every year. Kind of after the winter time, or during the winter time, the needles kind of turn yellowy brown and it drops. But I haven't really noticed it too much on my blue spruce, if that's the one you're referring to. So I don't know. I mean, if you're saying you're saying that it's dying back and you think it actually has a problem, maybe it might need more water. I'm not really sure, but I do know that is a normal thing. So, but maybe your issue isn't normal. I live in a zone 4 or 5 too, so that might be a factor. I'm not really sure what your zone is. It's hard. A lot of these questions can be super subjective to where you live and where your plant is planted, you know? So it's hard to answer. So Sean Jones says, I was wondering about the Butterbur. Can we have an update? I'm a little late to the game on that Butterbur question. Some of these I'm going over because I think I've already answered them. Sarah Scott says, what brand of compost do you buy? Sarah, I just buy whatever is either on sale or just convenient, whatever. I don't discriminate against any compost. I just buy whatever is there and is the cheapest, honestly. So the next question is from Garbs Productions. And they said, Jess, have you considered tiny tortuga? What is that? Turtle head? I think that's turtle head. Yeah, turtle head. Oh yes, I love turtle head. You can't really find that. I haven't seen turtlehead in years. That's a great idea. I kind of forgot about that plant. That's a great plant that loves moisture. I have 2 in my garden. They perform beautifully for me, zone 5. They are good bog type. They are good in bog type conditions. 1 in the sun, 1 in the shade, and they're both doing well. They stay upright. They bloom pretty pink flowers. I really like them. Yeah, that's a great idea. I completely forgot about turtlehead. Thank you. JJGT2PO. Hi Jess, what is the highest temp you have had there? Ours is 107 to 110. Yeah, we're at 110 today. That's pretty high for us in Michigan. If I planted my heuchera in the sun all day, it would fry. Yes, so that's not typical for us. Like in the summertime, we stay around like 70 to 85 degrees. Anything goes up over 85, between 85 and 90, that's really hot for us. Into the hundreds, it's really, really hot for us. So heuchera in my climate actually prefer more sun than the shade, as long as they're getting enough water. Paula Mayer says, I'm new to your channel and I love your videos. What zone are you, and do you have problems with Japanese beetles? So we're zone 4 or 5 here in Michigan, and I wouldn't say I have problems with Japanese beetles. This season I maybe saw 15 Japanese beetles, and I literally just go around and flick them off. Last year I seen a lot more because I had planted roses for the first time, and so they were just attacking my roses like crazy. So I did walk around with a bowl of soapy water and drowned them in the soapy water. I don't have to do that very often. I literally just flick them off as I'm walking, and I don't know where they go, but that's how I deal with them. Can you guys hear Nate mowing the lawn? It's kind of like we're outside. So Joan Bengal asks, where did you get your mahogany monster plants? So pretty. Those I got from a greenhouse here in Zeeland, Michigan called Garden Crossings. And the cool thing about them is you can actually mail order product from them online. So you can order it online and they send it to you, which is really neat. So Denny Meyer asks, I'm putting a lot of heucheras in my garden, pretty colors. Yeah, do you have issues with your heuchera heaving? And what do you do with them if they do? Yes, I do. I usually have issues with my heuchera heaving, and what I do is I just dig them up and then I replant them a little bit lower. And then I also, when I first initially plant a heuchera, I usually plant it a little bit lower than I would a regular plant. So it's just a little bit of extra work. This year, however, I had like about 4 or 5 Primo Black Pearl heuchera that were heaving really bad, and I just never got a chance to fix them, and they look just fine this year. So we'll see what happens next year. I might have to dig them up and plant them lower, but I do deal with that, and that's how I fix it. Vicki Hamilton asks, how do you get the forest to not encroach on your garden? I'm new to gardening and the creeping vine choke up my plants. Can you do a video on how you did your garden on the border of your forest? So honestly, Vicki, I struggle with it too. I deal with a vine, very thug of a vine called Virginia Creeper. Virginia Creeper. Oh my goodness, that little guy is just nuts. I just have to pull it out. I pull it out, I pull it and pull it until you get to the actual root, and I dig it out. And it's not an end all be all because it keeps coming back. It's everywhere in my garden, but that's how I do it. I just keep pulling it. And then another thing I do is anytime we dig out sod from another section of our yard where I want to make another garden, I put that sod on the forest, as you would call it. So right behind like my border, my garden, I'll throw sod on there, and that helps kind of hold the weeds back a little bit. And then I also throw leaves on it during the fall season. I'll put like a ton of leaf mulch on it. That's where I throw all of my cuttings. Like anytime I cut back perennials or plants or anything, I throw all the debris that I cut out in the forest, and that kind of helps a little bit. But I'm with you on that. I think it's just something that we'll always have to try and battle, unfortunately. James Lang asks, do you have deer? And I'll probably always be answering this question, but long story short, yes, we have deer. I mainly deal with deer in the winter time when there's not as much leafy vegetation for them to eat. They come into my yard and snack on heuchera, carex, any sort of arborvitae, which I've gotten rid of over the years. However, they really don't bother my plants in the summertime. We've got lots of activity going around. We've got lots of kids and young families in our little development here, and so they're always running around riding their bikes or little motor scooters or golf carts or whatnot. We also have a farmer field right across the way there, and so I just think there's other places for the deer to find their snacks than in my garden, thank God. So that's kind of the little rundown on the deer situation in my area. Jill Strang asks, what is the name of the Hellebore plant that you split? So I split a Hellebore plant a few movies back. Penny's Pink, maybe? I think that was a Penny's Pink Hellebore, and it kind of has like a purplish tint to the flower, but I'm pretty sure that was a Penny's Pink. Hey Jess, this is from Dawn. Hey Jess, do you build up the soil around that tree for your dump bed? No, I didn't build that soil up. I think I know it probably looks like there's like tons of soil in there. I think just from all the years of me putting plants in and out, taking them in and out, that soil in there is just like really nice and rich, and it's getting thick, and it's actually pushing out that wood edging that I have had in there for years. I have to get in there and clean it up. Amy Hoff says, I have a hellebore flowering for weeks now in my garden. It did not flower in the spring. Does this happen sometimes? That has never happened to me before, where it hasn't flowered in spring but then flowered again in the summertime. However, mine like hold on to their flowers pretty much throughout the year. It's really weird. It's not the same type of flower. The color kind of fades off, but like the actual structure of the flower is kind of still there. So that happens to me, and then I go in and I kind of trim it back once the winter comes and I see the new growth popping up. But I have heard of people not having it flower in the spring, so then they fertilize it and it does encourage it to flower a little bit later. So I have heard of that happening. Melissa 9842 asks, what are the beautiful two-tone hosta by your bird bath? Those are called Great Expectation hosta. They're really pretty. My Eden 4321 asks, what is the name of the hydrangea in your dump bed? Oh man, I've had that one for so long. It's an endless summer bloomstruck. Is that what it is? Bloomstruck hydrangea, endless summer. Just Anonymous 5681 says, enjoy listening to you sing. Do you have a separate channel for your music? No, I don't, but as I said, I'm working on getting some music. I don't know if I'll make another channel, but we'll see what happens. Okay, so the yellow flower again. Some of these I'm going by because they're kind of duplicate questions I've already answered. MS Maddox 2918 says, have you tried Color Blaze Wicked Hot Coleus or Newly Noir Coleus? I think they would look pretty with the hostas. Yeah, I haven't really tried Coleus. I don't know. For some reason I haven't really took a liking to Coleus yet for some reason. I know it's like all the rage right now and everybody's doing it, but there's something about it that just hasn't grabbed me yet, but that could change. But that is a really great idea. I love them in other people's gardens, don't get me wrong. Whenever I see them in other people's gardens, I'm like, oh, that looks really great. But when I go to buy something or plant something or whatever. I don't gravitate towards that. There's other things that I would rather plant, but that is a really great idea, and they are very beautiful. Maybe one day I'll kind of gravitate more towards the coleus. We'll see. Let's see here. Do you get any damage from slugs or snails? Not really that I've noticed. So I've kind of have like a bittersweet issue in my garden, and that is a family of raccoons who come around from time to time and just kind of snoop around for bugs and slugs and snails, and they just come in and take care of that problem for me. They create other issues, like I have to clean up after their mess that they leave when they move all my rocks around and things like that. But I mean, really, I can't really complain because they take care of the bug, slug, snail situation for me. And that was Allison, I'll put it on the screen. Sorry, Allison. So Lynn 4350 says, do you fertilize your flowers? So lush looking. I do fertilize like perennials, trees and shrubs in their initial planting. So I'll throw fertilizer in there just to get them started. After that, I don't. They're kind of on their own. Annuals, same thing. I kind of fertilize them once to get them started, and then this time of year, now that we're at the end of August, I might throw a little bit more fertilizer on them because I have noticed like some of them are starting to need it, I guess. One good thing I have going for me is I have really great soil, so that helps. Another thing is I try to choose plants that don't need a lot of fertilizer. I really love plants that can just, plant it and you can leave it and it's going to perform really good on its own, and I don't have to put a lot of time and money and fuss into it. Those are the kind of plants that I gravitate towards. So as far as annuals, that's why I stick away from petunias. I don't want the extra hassle of having to fertilize it all the time or trimming it back all the time. Like, I don't want to have to spend money on fertilizing it so that it grows, and then like a few weeks later I have to cut it back because it's grown too much, and then keep doing that cycle. That's great for some people, but I don't have time and I can't really be bothered to do that kind of stuff. So I guess that's my answer for the fertilization question, is I do get them started off on a great start, and then I'm like, okay buddy, you're on your own. Have fun in the garden. I'll be back to look at you and tell you how beautiful you are, but you can take it from here. Oh, that sounds horrible saying that out loud, but it's the truth. Alright, Avon 1950 says, Jess, I'm a master gardener and I was taught that bleeding heart should be planted in the shade. Yes, unless you have a newer variety of this plant. And yes, you're right, that is exactly the case actually. Bleeding heart, the old-fashioned bleeding heart, should be planted in the shade. I do have a newer version of this. I actually had a lot of questions on this, I think. I should have said that in my movie. I planted some bleeding hearts, you guys, in the full sun. And y'all were probably watching me like, what in the world is she doing? These bleeding hearts are brand new from Proven Winner, and they can be planted in the full sun, especially in my mild climate 4 or 5 zone. So yes, you are exactly right. I've got bleeding heart in the full shade of my garden, and it does just great. I would not ever put that type of bleeding heart in the full sun like I did these pink diamonds. It's a completely different variety. So yes, very good point, because a lot of people picked up on that. The next question was about the Mystic Illusion Dahlia. We went over that. User FO6, the music voice you play in the background almost sounds like you singing. Am I right? Yeah, you're right. That's me singing. Let's see. Deborah Stimpson, just the yellow flowers. Yeah, Mystic Illusion Dahlia. Everyone is wondering about that dahlia. It is an amazing dahlia. Go get you one. Go get you one. Margaret Pervier says, do you ever divide your coneflower? And not technically, I don't ever really divide my coneflower, but it does like volunteer in other places, so it just reseeds itself And so then I will dig up and move those reseeded volunteer plants. But I've never actually dug up a coneflower and split it. I probably could, but it reseeds all over the place that I just use those volunteers. Next question is Kim Irvine. Where can I find cleome seeds? I know like Eden Brothers has them, Amazon has them, Burpee has them, Swallowtail Seeds has them. I got mine from a wholesale company through my sister, and that is called Ivy Garth, and I probably got them, gosh, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and they just, I planted them once, and they keep reseeding themselves every year. So once you buy them, you really don't need to buy them again. You can either save seeds, or what I do is I just let them go. I leave them all winter long, and they just reseed themselves. So there's lots of places you can buy them, but easiest place you could probably get them is Amazon. Tabitha Dooley, before living in this house, did you garden like this? I think I recall you saying you lived in this house for around 7 years. It's amazing the gardens you've accomplished in that amount of time. It's so pretty. Yeah, thank you, Tabitha. No, I didn't garden like this because my husband and I lived in a condo, and we just had this like little tiny porch, and I'll try to find some pictures. I decked out that porch with pots and hanging baskets, but this is the first time I actually like dove into an actual garden of my own in like a proper yard and landscape. So I just kind of started doing it, you know, when we built our house 7 years ago. I did, however, grow up gardening vegetables and stuff when I was younger. So the house I grew up at, the lot next to us was a giant garden, and the guy who owned it would give us like a little section of the garden, my little brothers and my sister, every year. We were little, and we grew up growing tomatoes and peppers and strawberries and all kinds of little things in that garden. And then as the years went on, that guy passed away, and they sold the lot. They built a house there, and then I started my own little garden at my mom's house with vegetables and things like that. But it wasn't until, like I said, that we built our house and had like my own piece of land, my own property to really you know, dig in and do what I wanted to do. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Bertha Starks says, regarding your zinnias, did you plant your seeds directly into the soil, or did you start them in seed trays? Everything looks wonderful. So my zinnias, we planted in my sister's greenhouse into like plug trays, I think. The seeds into plug trays. She grew them on in her greenhouse, passed them off to me when they were little seedlings, and then I planted those little seedlings into the ground. So I hope that helps. Pang the screen. How do you deal with bunnies? So the bunnies, I don't know if you guys have the same thing that goes on at your house, but some years the bunnies just love to multiply. Some years they don't. This year it was like bunny family reunion galore. So I have been dealing with a little bit more bunny damage than I normally do. However, it's really not that bad. I mean, they honestly just like nibble a little bit and then they hop away. It's really nothing to like go crazy about. So honestly, I kind of let them just do their thing. Anytime I see them out in the garden, I usually like yell at them or like clap really loud or run out there and try to scare them away, and that helps, but it's not like a huge issue, so I kind of just chase them away when I see them. Judy McKiro says, did you ever get your ground bee situation rectified? No, I haven't, because I went over there and I got stung. So I haven't been over in that section since. We are just going to let it be, pun intended, let it be for now, and we will deal with that in the next season coming. Yanni1 says, considering that Autumn Joy sedum requires full sun, it has to like shade, how are you able to incorporate sedum and hosta in the same location? Sedum and hosta both are pretty versatile depending on what kind it is. So, you know, that location, I have them both in the same spot. It does get about part sun. However, with that said, I do like to push the limits a little bit on what the tag requirements say. So if the tag says full sun, I like to try it in some shade and see how it will do. If the tag says full shade, I like to try it in a little bit of sun and see how it does. Because a lot of times, depending on your zone, it could be able to handle a little bit more sun or a little bit more shade than what it actually says on the tag. So I just like to have fun and try different things, push the limits a little bit, but that particular section I would say is about part sun. I've pretty much been just yakking away for almost an hour now. So I think we might have to do like a part 2 of this question situation and call it quits right now, because this movie is getting really, really, really long. Which actually brings me to my question I think I want to end on is, a lot of you comment and ask why I call my movies on here. And honestly, so I make all these movies on my iPhone, and here I'll show you. I make them right on my iPhone, like literally with like a $20 selfie stick / tripod. Okay, so nothing fancy here. And I make them in an app that Apple gives you called iMovie. Oh, poked the wrong one. Hold up. So it's called iMovie, and I literally just poke iMovie, and then you can go in there and make your movies. It says you can make a movie. And I'm like, oh, let's make a movie from scratch with the iMovie timeline. So I poke it, I pick, you know, the different pictures or videos I want to use, and then I push create movie. And then when you save it, it says like my movie on there. And then when you go to upload it to your photos, it says upload my movie. And so like I'm making a movie, you know what I mean? Like that's what I'm making, so that's what I call it. I just always called it that, and it kind of stuck, so that's why that's going on. They're movies to me because I make them in iMovie. But anyway, thank you guys so much for just listening to me yak away. I hope that this was informative in a way. I want you guys to know, like, I am not a professional. I literally am just a home gardener that goes out and learns from trial and error. Honestly, I learned from a lot more failures, I guess what I would call, than successes. So, or I learned a lot from what someone just asked me about the why the sedum and the hosta in the same area. Well, because I try to push the limits a lot and just see what the plants will take. Like, these plants are pretty resilient for the most part, especially perennials. So it's fun to really test them out and see what happens. And sometimes I feel bad because I can't really scientifically answer a lot of your questions in probably the way that you deserve. I can just go off of my experience and what I've experienced in my zone, in my garden. So anyway, I'm reminded again right now as I'm saying goodbye to you, just the 10,000 people that poked the subscribe button. It's just really insane to me. So thank you to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and counting up to 10,000 and more now people of you. You know, it's not just the 10,000th person, it's that 19th person that decided to take a chance on me by poking on my movie. So anyway, have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for all your questions and your comments, and I'll see you later. Bye. Maxie boy, you having fun? It's like 110 degrees out here. But we just had to come out. Right, buddy? Right, buddy. Yeah. You my baby. Here's my boy. Yeah, here's a good boy. I haven't had to put my planter in the shade because it's so hot.